Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Punch, Kick, Choke, Chat. We're here live on the Zoom call. We're also live streaming to YouTube. If you're watching this at a later date, feel free to subscribe, smash that like button. You might be listening to it on a podcast. By the way, I noticed that our subscriptions, I feel like they jumped up on YouTube. So to whoever our new subscribers are, that's fantastic. We've been growing this week after week. And the fact that I think like 30 or 40 new people jumped on board, that's incredible, the swell we're getting. So martial arts is alive and well out there, and we're glad you're watching and picking up on this history. Part of the history of this show is our first episode guest. We pulled him in to be one of our hosts, and his name is Sensei Nicholas Suino, and he's here with us tonight. He's an 8th dan in Iaido, a 6th dan in Judo, a 6th dan in Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. And before the call, I just said, Sensei, is there anything you want me to talk about? And, in a very typically humble fashion, he kind of said no. And then he didn't realize I was writing it down. He goes, the thing is, from the inside out, I'm just a guy who fell in love with martial arts and keeps doing it. And it sounds so simple, but when over 50 years pass and you receive laurels in your own country and in the birthplace of your sword art, you go over and you have achievements that I don't even think anybody from North America has ever matched. It's real easy to go, yeah, I'm just a guy who loved it, but it's a lot different to be the guy who loved it, keeps doing it, and excels at a global level. I don't think there's anything in this world I do as well as you swing a sword and teach and pass on your martial arts. How you doing tonight, Sensei?
Doing great. I will pay you copious amounts of money for that intro, sir. It's always
Venmoing across a border is hard, so you could just do cash.
I'm going to start doing the intro for Suino if there's copious amounts of money involved.
Well, listen, what I mean by copious amounts of money may not apply in the rarefied world of Punch, Kick, Choke, Chat hostdom. Thank you so much, Sean. It's great to see you.
My pleasure, Sensei.
I love chatting a little bit before the episode and, of course, during the episode as well. And hopefully we're going to be in the same place at the same time again in the not too distant future. I look forward to that.
Yeah.
Falls to me to introduce Sensei Randy Dolphan. If you are new to this show, you may or may not know he's the 7th dan in karate, a 4th dan in Iaido, multi-time world champion in both fighting and forms, and more importantly, incredible fit guy, very hardworking, and absolutely positively dedicated to the martial arts. Many of the things that we've done together over the last few decades have been because of his hard work, and including much of this show.
Yep.
Randy, it's so good to see you. How are you doing today?
I'm just so excited. Today is a great day. So many great things since Suino are happening today. And you've said it often, you planted the seed in my mind when we did the Crucible and Permissions, 2 events that actually my pen tonight is the Permissions pen, about this thinking of the joy versus the pleasure, and the pleasure is just fleeting. If you're always chasing the pleasure, then you give up all the joy. That's something that you taught me. And I'm having a fucking joyful day today. Like, today is just a joyful day. And this tonight, what we're going to do is going to be the pleasure in that joyful day. And yeah, thanks, Sensei, for that intro. I'm not going to pay you copious amounts of money, but I'm going to be dedicated to you and be your friend and your training partner and your student for the rest of my life. That's what I can guarantee. So that's how I'm doing today. And I don't know, maybe because it's my seed, I get to introduce Sensei Legacy every time, and I'm always excited to introduce Sensei Legacy. I'm always excited to say that he's a 10th dan and that he was awarded that rank by somebody who's I also have a tremendous amount of respect for, which is Anthony Sandoval. If you don't know who he is, get on YouTube, figure out how you can find out who Anthony Sandoval is, but that's also another incredible human being. So Sensei Legacy got his 10th dan from him. He's a member of the Black Belt Hall of Fame, Canadian Black Belt Hall of Fame. He's an author. Other people that he's a student of, Harold Warden, Benny Allen, named my son after Benny Allen. That's how impactful that is. My son's name is Benjamin, who's named after Sensei Legacy's, I got to say, most primary teacher. Also a student of Richard Kim, also a student of Sensei Suino, who's on the call right now. And I want to say one thing is that the things that Sensei Legacy's gained in martial arts, none of them were handed to him on a silver platter. He earned every fucking thing that was given to him. His 10th Dan, his author, his Canadian Black Belt Hall of Fame, he earned all of it. And today's his birthday. And I'm so happy we're spending this day with Sensei Legacy. And I'm so happy that, I'm not going to say the date, but I'm just so happy that Sensei Legacy was born, and I got to connect with him. And I know everybody on this call feels the same. Really happy that they got to connect with him. This morning I called him and we started laughing. We didn't even say hello. We just started laughing, like when the call came. So both of us just started laughing. So it's kind of funny because, and we had this great conversation, and, you know, the conversation was around, we talked about being a fighter versus a martial artist. And Sensei Legacy was always a martial artist and also a fighter. And I'll let that percolate in your brain. Always a martial artist and also a fighter. The other thing that we talked about is just kind of the cool thing about having a true sensei-student relationship, like a real one. And one of the things I want to say is my mom, my dad, my kids, if you really wanted to know who I was, a stranger just wanted to get an outside perspective on who I was, I would point them to Sensei Legacy. He knows everything about me, my faults, my weaknesses, my strengths, everything. And I also feel like if you wanted to know anything about Sensei Legacy, you should probably come to me. And I'd be able to tell you everything. I wouldn't tell you everything, but I could tell you everything. And I think in the end, that's what a real, like a true, like Matsumura Itosu, Kamiho Gashiona, Miyagi Chojin, like those types of relationships are built on that. Not just the training, knowing everything about a person, the totality of it, or as much as you can. If it's not everything, it's as much as you can. And I'm really happy to introduce Sensei Legacy tonight and just say happy birthday. And Sensei, we won't sing happy birthday to you tonight. Benson wanted to, and I just said no.
You know I want to.
Yeah.
I'm chomping at the fucking bit right now.
Yeah. Where's that black guy from, Benson?
I was scrambling with a guy in jits and got the back of his head.
Too bad it wasn't karate.
That's my foot. You should see my foot.
I just want to let you know that I control your next Dan.
I think he's talking to you, Sean, not me.
I think I'm not singing. I think I'm not singing. I think we're going to leave the singing.
Sensei Legacy, what's going on today? What do you want to say about all that before we get into our show?
Oh, it's just another day. We had a great conversation that started my day and set the tone. But other than that, on your birthday, you know, what you should be doing is calling my mother. I didn't do anything. So that's it.
Or thanking your father. He got all the joy, right? Your mom got all the pain.
For his 35 seconds, yes.
Y'all aren't Italians, are you?
Yeah.
Okay, so listen, Andre, I want to just quickly, before we get too deep into this, Sensei Maletsky had his hand up earlier, and I just want to give him a chance. So let's, before we get deep into this, let's turn that camera on and hear what Sensei Maletsky, why he had his hand up. Or I will do it. Oh, he's not connected to the audio is the message that I got.
Here he is.
Oh, there he is. Hey,
You don't
Sensei
hear nothing.
Maletsky.
Hi, Sensei. How's it going?
Okay.
I'm not sure what he's saying, Sensei Legacy, but I'm going to translate for you. He's saying, Happy birthday, Sensei Legacy. You're the best martial artist I've ever seen. You're the most handsome guy I've ever met, next to me.
And I'm sending you $10,000.
Can't hear you.
Well, when you look that good, you don't need to be heard.
That's
Yeah.
right. Okay. So let's moving on. Sensei
Moving on.
Legacy.
It's great to see you, Sensei Valensky. I'm sorry we couldn't hear you.
Yeah, love that guy.
Yeah.
Seriously, like
Yeah. And if
Canadian
you're
pioneer. Yeah,
if
love
you
that
want to
guy.
know why, please go back and watch the ep with him. You can find it. It's awesome.
Yeah. Or call him or any one of us and
Mm.
we'll explain to you why he's awesome. Sean, let's punch it over to Sensei Legacy. Sensei Legacy, give us a
Yep.
question that
Yep.
you had written down
Yep.
that you want to crack open.
Let's
with
do
everybody.
this. Woo.
Okay, so we sort of leave this open to the audience. They want to participate as usual. How much time should it take to become a black belt? And do private lessons make your time in grade shorter? And should you, are classes necessary if you're taking private lessons? So I just want to know what everyone's opinion on that would be. You know,
Do you
private
want to-
lessons.
Who do you
Go
want to start with, Sensei Legacy? And then we definitely want to hear your thoughts on that for sure. But
Sensei Suino, what do you think about that? Of course, if you're going to mention like Iaido or whatever, you mention which art, because I don't know about EI, sorry.
Part one, how long should it take? How long should it take to get a black belt is the question, right? Yeah. So my answer is as long as it takes. You know, typically in Iaido, right, take 4 to 7 years to get a black belt. And it's you have to learn a certain set of skills and you have to get them to a certain level. Some people take longer than others. They don't learn as fast. And I suppose there are some people, in fact, I know there are some people whose learning curve is so slow, they probably will never get to that, right? Because black belt says a certain thing about you that you have to earn. Second question, do private lessons shorten that? I think it goes back to my first answer. Private lessons shorten it if they shorten it. If the private lessons make the difference in somebody's life in such a way that they can do better at the techniques in the way that they're supposed to qualify for the art, then it can potentially shorten their trip to black belt. Personally, I think private lesson only martial arts, it's very, very difficult to learn everything you have to learn. Obviously in the combatives, unless you're just fighting your sensei all the time, and even then you're going to have an incomplete skill set because everyone's different. So I guess part one, as long as it takes. Part two, private lessons can, but don't necessarily shorten your path. And part three, I do think that group classes are necessary for martial artists.
Yes.
who next, Sensei? Me or Benzo?
Let's go with Benzo. He's sitting here, just waiting to explode. So
I just love this. You know, for those watching, Sensei Legacy gave us a bit of a heads up on the questions before, and they're just all awesome. And I also love to be included in the ability to answer. So I am exploding a little. I'm going to kind of go reverse order just because it's how I'm thinking about it. For me, group classes are totally essential because, you know, if you think about a fighter in any professional element, they need what you call looks. You can't just fight one type of person. You need to fight a big body, a small body, a fast person, a slow person, a powerful, etc. And obviously we're not just talking about fighting, but you know, I love when I bring my Toronto students, and there's like 12 of us now, but when they go down to Kitchener, they all kind of go, and I see them making friends with people at their own level. And I use the term trudging partner. It's actually a sober term, but you know, I didn't have so much a trudging partner in karate. And when I see my students getting trudging partners, and it's some stuff people have talked about on the show, like, oh man, I almost got the better of him this week, but I feel like he got the better of me. So I'm going to train my ass off for the next time. Love that. I think it's so essential. Iron sharpens iron. I don't know if private's short in time. I mean, I can only speak to my own journey, which was more than 2 years of privates, if not even more, with Sensei Dolphan. While I was at theater school and he was setting up his club and he was in that between stage. And I mean, because of my situation, which was training with him so intermittently, but never inconsistently, if that makes sense, it was a long journey. I don't know. I think privates just should be part. Like, I think privates should be part of the training. So you get that one-on-one, that more personalized, but I don't think it necessarily shortens it. How long? That's also a great question. Honestly, my answer would be longer than most schools and people think. And the reason is because when I look at COVID, when I look at my first black belt Alden, everyone in my school has been delayed for various reasons. And then they end up coming in very well at where they're at. And there's no squeaking by. And that's a function of being maybe too long at a belt, but not too long at a belt. So I think the idea of, I don't know, whatever we think it is, add 20% just to let the basics, the kata, the concepts percolate down as deeply as possible.
All right.
Do you want me to go, Sensei, or do you just
Well-
want to answer?
Yeah, go ahead. Like,
Okay. How long? I think it depends on the person. You know, if it's a person who's a quitter, they need to spend like at least 10 years, right? If they're a quitter person, then it needs to be 10 years. If they're a person who's going to spend their whole life in it, it almost becomes irrelevant. Like, right? Because eventually they're going to be a black belt or whatever it is that the art demands of them. That's what's going to happen. So, I mean, on a practical sense, I guess if I had to quote numbers, super dedicated, you're going to train like 3 to 5 times a week. Hard, I mean, train. You're going to come to class, you're going to train 3 to 5 times a week, probably 5 years, right? If you want to be really practical, if you're going to come like 2 times a week, and one of those times you're going to not be too dedicated to your training, then you're probably looking at an 8-year horizon to be a black belt, in my opinion, right? Are classes necessary? Absolutely necessary. I think they're absolutely necessary. And as a matter of fact, Sean might not even remember this because his memory is not sometimes great, but there was a time when you had sent him to me, Sensei Legacy, and said, train with Sensei Dolphan. And after a year or two, I was like, I think I'm doing this guy a disservice. I think he needs a class. And I almost sent him to a person whose name starts with F and ends with Anki. And, he didn't go, thank God, but I just thought he needs to get something from the class experience that he's not getting from me out here in the park. Right. So I do think that class experiences give you that sense of community. You know, you build that camaraderie, those people who can push you. You find inspiration outside of your instructor, which I think is also really important. Your instructor can't be everything to you. You need other people who can inspire you. And then really fast private lessons in the dojo. That's like the turbo booster that like will change your time from like, 8 years to 7 years, or if you're a different person, from 5 years to 4.5 years. That's that's the turbo booster. If you're dedicated, you get those private lessons, and that's going to just give you those things. And in those private lessons, you should listen. It's not training, it's listening. The private lessons are more about the mind than they are about, putting your hand on your hip. I guess that's it, unless you can get private lessons in a car, drinking coffee.
yeah, I think we all agree on the group lessons. You definitely have to have group lessons. And my question really was, I was looking for minimum. Because of content, no one gets a black belt in my dojo before 4 years, between 4 and 5 years. Because you have to give them the content. Some people are kata people, some people are fighters, some people don't do fighting, they do self-defense. So in true classical karate, you have to touch all aspects. You have to spend at least 4 times. Where I differ a little bit is that private lessons will bring you a little bit quicker, not only because of detail, but if you're in a class, just say of 20 people, and you spend an hour and a half in that class, Sensei's not always going to be on you. He's going to be on everyone else. People are at different levels, they learn at different pace, like you say. So I think private lessons, in my own personal opinion, and again, I could be wrong, but I think that it sort of matures you or develops you a little bit quicker, whereas you still need 4 years to get that all under your belt and to get it out of yourself and into the art. So I differ a little bit with the private lessons, simply because I think, if you can see my view, is that 20 people in the dojo don't all get an hour and a half's attention, but they do gain other things, you know, like synchronized stuff and fighting different people and different views of the same thing. So
Everybody
think
was nodding, Sensei. I think we all agree with your.
we're all in the same park. We're all in the same park, just looking at it just very slightly different. Anybody?
So
Go ahead.
I think Sensei Maletsky has connected to his audio now.
Okay.
So if everybody's okay with that, I'd like to get him in here and hear what he wanted to say. None of us can speak for him. So Andre, can we get that, make that happen in the next minute and 30 seconds? No pressure.
Hey,
Oh,
Hey,
am I on speaker?
you are on
Great.
speaker.
Brilliant.
Sensei.
Hey,
Hey.
mannaggia la miseria. Hey, the world is the oyster now for everybody,
yeah, it is.
especially
Yeah.
for my friend, the young fellow over there, Hunchy Gary Legacy. Ooh, I have to pay my deepest respect to Hunchy Legacy, my senior in age, and I would sing a song, but you know, I heard what you said about what Ben's, so I ain't gonna sing nothing because nobody's gonna pay me copious amounts of money. So in that case, I'll just wish Hunchy Legacy very happy and honest, delightful birthday. I wish you many, many more, and I hope to get up your way one day, and we can rock and roll a little bit and share some of the nectars of the gods, shall we say.
Mm.
Thank you, sir.
Anyways, happy birthday,
And-
brother.
Thank you, and I appreciate the book you sent me.
You're more than welcome. Excellent. And I enjoyed watching when I get a chance, and I'm not teaching. Tonight was lucky. I finished early just to catch this show. So again, all the best, and I'll keep watching. Take care.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Sensei.
Sensei Maletsky. Okay, so Andre, if you can help us by, I got a message from Sensei Copeland. Nobody wants to irritate him. Can you turn his video? Can you turn his video and his audio on? Let him get in here, and then we'll get to Sensei Legacy's next question that he might have.
Nice.
Nice.
I just feel like Sensei Copeland's fists are like that big. So you got to be super cool when he comes on.
Can't wait to see him. I said because nobody
here
wants
we
to
are.
irritate him. It's mostly because we all love him. That's why we
Yeah.
want him on the
Yeah.
camera. Yeah.
Hi, Sensei.
Hey, good morning. How's everybody? All right?
Hey, look at that guy.
Awesome.
I love that guy.
I think I heard Sensei Suino say something about my big fist or whatever. These are basketball hands, man. These are really, really, really big, you know? So I think my hands are almost as big as Hanshi Legacy, but not quite. But they're good for palming a ball.
Mm.
You know,
You know what they say about guys with big hands, right?
I do know what they say about even more importantly, black guys with big hands.
I've heard it said. I don't know.
Only you can say that in today's day and age.
That's funny because my kids, when we're training, we have the handheld shield, Hanshi, they're looking at the shield and I'm trying to get them to focus on the target. And I'll say, what color is my uniform? They'll say white. I say, what color is the shield? They'll say red. And I'll say, what color is my face? And nobody talks.
Black.
You know?
Black.
And my point is, I just want them to hit the right color. That's all I want. Auntie Legacy, I just wanted to say a happy birthday to you. And it doesn't sound like anybody is singing, so I'll sing. Happy birthday to you.
Oh,
Happy birthday to you, my friend and colleague in the martial arts. Happy birthday to you, Hanshi Legacy, 76 years young. Happy birthday to you and many more.
Yes.
Right.
But I have a question, seriously though. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, Sensei Copeland, you take all the time.
No. So my question, Hanshi, is because at 76, you've been through the grind. You've been in the martial arts, you've been teaching for a long time. And my question is, from the beginning of your teaching career to now, what do you see as the difference between those first students and these new students from a teaching perspective?
if you're talking about the person, them, or
Well,
the
category-wise, not the individual, but the groups, the students from those days to students from now.
Well, students from those days came in to learn karate, and a lot of them weren't put in by their parents. I find they were more dedicated. They lasted longer. Like I have people that are my friends, they're still martial artists, where I think now a lot of them come in and try it because they're interested in the martial arts, but they don't realize how much work it really is. It's a long time. Like it takes you 4 years to reach your real first level. And then after that, it starts for second Dan, 2 more years, third Dan, 3 more, and adds up to, you have to get a 10th Dan, you have to be 70 years old. So the dedication and like Sensei Maletsky, the guts and glory years are the old years when we fought bare fist. And when you made a mistake, both people paid the price because you'd have teeth marks on your hands. So it was more crude in those days. But in these days also, for the people that are there today, there are better, more ways. The instructors are a lot more up in the ways of making your body more of a weapon, like by way of using weights and doing different things. They know more about health foods. So things have changed a little bit. But I like the old days when just guys, you remember that, don't you?
Yes, for sure. Thank you, Sensei.
But both students are good students.
Yes, I agree. They are good now. They were awesome back then. It's just a different crop.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Well, I hope you enjoy your birthday festivities, whatever they're going to be, and may you live for another 76 years.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Sensei Copeland, we're all going to be together May 14th, 15th. This whole crew.
That's going to be awesome.
I can't wait.
Awesome.
Can't wait.
I'm working the schedule right now for when we're all going to be on the floor, and
Thank you.
because I get to work the schedule. I'm like, okay, I can't teach at the same time that Sensei Copeland's teaching because I want to train with him. And I'm not teaching at the same time as Sensei Suino because I want to train with him. And I'm not teaching at the same time as Hunchi Legacy because I want to train with him. So yeah, it's going to be amazing. We're going to see you super soon. I can't wait.
Well, the only thing I want to say that, you know, if my only input is when you make the schedule, make sure that I'm available to train with all of you.
That will happen now because you said it. And Sensei Suino says, if you do not ASK, you do not GET. That's
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Don't
Awesome.
ask, don't get. Thank you. All right, take care, guys.
All right. Sensei Legacy, what was the next question you wanted to crack open with everybody?
Okay, does a man require another man as opposed to a woman to make him a better martial artist and vice versa?
Who do you want to start with, Sensei? You got to direct it to
Let's start with you this time.
me. Okay. The very first name that popped into my mind, Sensei, was Fang Chi Liang. Right? That is the very first person that popped into my mind. The other thing that I thought about was, I've often said to people that you were a pioneer when it came to, we talked about the blood and guts era in the 70s and the 60s, where it was like, but I feel like I was blessed in the fact that you were a person who always accepted females into the dojo and you didn't train them different. You just, this is karate. This is what you need to do. Karate picks and chooses you. It doesn't care if you're a female or a male, right? So on that side, I think that's important. And what I would say today, like when I look at it today, when I'm trying to teach now, I think it's really important that when young ladies come in, they're blessed that they can see other ladies training and doing things at a high level. And when men come in, they can see ladies training at a high level and vice versa. So I don't know if it's necessary, but I think it's better. Like, I think it's better. So I don't want to say it's necessary, but I think if you train in a dojo with high level female practitioners and high level male practitioners, you will reap rewards that you won't get if you're on either side of that, only men or only women. So yeah, that's my answer.
Thank you, Suino.
Can you say the question again so I understand your phrasing?
Does a man require another man to teach him as opposed to, say, a woman? And vice versa. Make him better. You know, if I went to a female teacher and I was a man, would I require a man to make me a better martial artist? Or would a lady or a woman require?
No, I don't think so. I think a woman can make you a great martial artist just as a man can. I think if it's a question of training partners and fights, that may be a little different. It's just because statistically over the broad human population, men tend to have denser muscle tissue and tend to have more strength. So if you're a fighter in a martial art where strength is an important factor, that may make a difference. But as far as teachers, I mean, one of the best people that ever existed in judo is Fukuda Keiko Sensei, who passed away at like age something 97 recently. And just no question, the whole world of judo understands that she was one of the best people who ever existed. And she had hundreds or thousands of students, both male and female, who have done incredibly well in the world of judo. So yeah, short answer, I don't think so.
Enzo?
For me, it's really simple. I think to become a brilliant, excellent, phenomenal martial artist, it doesn't matter. But I think to be the best you can be, it does. Going back to our first question, which is eventually you're just going to want to be part of a room where you are training with people of the opposite sex, or even people who don't consider themselves any sex. So I think eventually you're going to lead to the interaction with everybody. But I think to become excellent, I don't think it would matter if your teacher was a man or a woman whatsoever. You don't know anything when you walk in the door. So somebody who's a master is going to be able to bring you so far before there's going to be a limit.
Well, I agree with you all that we've had like Sensei Michelle Legacy was a great karate teacher. She used to teach the beginners, and then they would come into my class after, just as they're getting on a higher level, and they never lacked anything.
Nothing.
Ladies, there are some very, very good women teachers. If you're actually, like you said, if you're going to get in a ring and bat around with big heavy guys that are going to be hitting each other, there may be a very slight disadvantage where they're getting hit, you know, in different places like that. But that's if you get to hit them. If they lay their mitts on you first, or they kick you in the side of the head first, it may, in my opinion, it makes no difference. And on the inside, I've always said martial artists are all the same. We all learn the same lessons, and we all get that same spiritual and that same knowledge. Whereas if you want to fight in MMA, it may be better to fight other men. But other than that, very, very slight, you may learn something from a woman. You may learn something that you don't learn from a man. Because technically, listen to this. Technically, when you're born, women are naturally better fighters than men. Because the creator who made us made them the protectors of the children. And you just try to take a baby away from a woman. She doesn't know how to fight, she'll tear you to pieces. So it's like Randy was telling me the other day. Christine, at one time, some guy tried to steal some money from her that were at work. And the guy who tried to steal the money from her, she held on to that bag so hard and pounded and kicked him that when the police arrived, she still had the handles of the bag that she was bringing in her hands. She did not let go. So if there wouldn't be a weight difference, that 30-35% extra weight than a man has, let's say a woman and a man that are the same size, I'd say it's a 50-50 proposition. And even at that, you might have a slight disadvantage. I feel that deep down inside, you're much meaner. Yeah. And the other thing I'd like to offer to everyone and the ladies would be that if it takes 25 pounds pressure per square inch to knock a man out, and a man can put out 100, and a woman can only put out 35, it doesn't matter. You only need 25. The thing is that the thing I would like to offer for the ladies would be that if you have the confidence in your ability, you will win.
Yeah, I think you're right, Sensei. As you're talking, the things I was thinking about was, you know, Sensei Michelle, one of the things I always said to people was, because they might not have the image of what she is. Blonde hair, blue eyes, 5'7", 115 pounds. You fucking grab a hold of her in a self-defense situation, your ass is going to be fucking knocked out like so fast. You're not even going to realize what happened to you. And it doesn't even matter if it's a man or a woman. 30 pounds or not, she's not going to hesitate. You're going to be like unconscious really quick. I now, Sensei, want to turn it over to somebody that I know that you want to talk to. She did a post about you today, and Sydney Dolphan is on the call, and she wants to say happy birthday to her godfather, I think. So Andre, if you can turn that stuff on. Her internet connection might be flaky.
Yeah, I'm here. Hello.
Aye.
Hey, Sid.
Happy birthday, Uncle Gary. I miss you so much. Wish I could give you a hug.
Thank you. There's the lady right there. You don't want to mess around with. I saw her fight guys all the
There
way
was,
up.
I have to, as you were talking, I was thinking of this time in high school, because all the guys, they'd say like, oh, you don't know karate, you couldn't hurt me. And I sent my one friend who's 6'7", probably 250 pounds. He was like captain of the basketball team. I sent him through the door of our classroom the one day because he said, show me some karate. And so I stood on his foot and I just dropped my shoulder and body checked him, and he went flying backwards out the door. And that was actually you who told me once. You said, if anyone tells you to show them some karate, stand on their foot and push them as hard as you can. So that's what I did.
Yeah, also at Sydney's grading, when it came to the black belt fighting, I had her fight 2 people at a time. And then I had her fight more than that. I forget if it was 3 or 4 or what at the same time. And she handled that very well. She got her black belt.
What else, Sid? What else you want to say? Ask what thoughts you want to leave us with before we go to Sensei Legacy's next question.
Yeah, I mean, that whole last conversation, I was just thinking of the women I've been so blessed to look up to, like Aunt Michelle, Sensei Chalky, Sensei Beauregard, Sensei Potter. I mean, even on this call, Sensei Landau, Christiana, like at camp when I was a little kid, and I know you were also a kid, but you were someone that I totally looked up to and wanted to be just like. And yeah, I mean, I'm privileged in the way that I knew I was accepted kind of unconditionally just by my father being my father, but also like there is the separation between the sensei relationship, but I knew I always belonged in the dojo just because I was kind of born there. But yeah, I've never really had an issue facing the guys. I know at Sensei Copeland's tournament once I fought in the boys division and did pretty good there too.
Yeah, you did. That was if people want to know, Sydney fought in the 16 to 18-year-old male division with, I think it was like 12 other black belts, men, and beat them all. And that's when Sensei Copeland said, hey, Randy, do you think Sydney wants to fight on Team Canada? And she went to Hamilton and ended up winning a silver medal. And again, I always like to say this to her so she remembers. She lost because she didn't follow the instructions of her teachers. Right? Which Sensei Copeland and I told her, don't talk to your competitors. And she did. She made friends with a girl from New Zealand before she fought her, and then lost a really hard fat battle. But I think she learned more from the loss than she did from the win. So Sensei Legacy, Sid, I'm sorry, love you. We're gonna shut your camera off because I love you. But Sensei, what's our next question? Yeah, I know it's good to see her, right? Like you and I feel the same. I feel choked up when I see her. Like, yeah.
I also just want to say something on the ladies' behalf. That you mentioned Patricia Beauregard. Patricia Beauregard was the actual 2-time world champion. She came home all cut up and beat up. I'm not sure if it was Spain or France or wherever she went. She came into my dojo. She fought with all the black belts, and the black belts, the men and women, all came up to me and complained because she had to give them all a fat lip. Right? So I went over to fight with her, and I thought, well, you know, I'll put a stop to this. She gave me a fat lip as well. Honest to God. So I got into got into a little conversation there, and she never hit anyone after that. But again, if you can put up enough power to knock a male out, you can do it. You just need that confidence and a good teacher. Okay. My next question is, in most styles, if you think about it, when you reach the fourth dan level, the katas stop. Like, I know the reason for that, or the reason that I believe is right. So what do you do from a fifth dan to an eighth dan? What is it that you do in the place of kata? Because we understand that a ninth and 10th dan are grandmasters and teachers. They spend their time trying to pass on the knowledge of the style. But what is going on there when you get to be a fourth dan? That's why I went out looking for the white crane. When I got to a fourth dan in Shorin or Shotokan, there were no more new katas, no more different kind of lessons. What do you suppose is what's missing there? Or is there something missing and I'm missing it? How about that, Sean?
Well, for me, because I'm right smack in the middle of what you're talking about, you know, there's the analogy that popped into my head is like you design and landscape and build your backyard with a pool, and that's like up to learning the system. And then one day the construction guy leaves. I mean, your sensei doesn't leave, but we'll use it as a metaphor. And now you actually get to play around in it for a while. Like the whole time I'm adding kata and the whole time I'm adding knowledge. Now the knowledge never stops, but I feel like this last while since I was a third dan has just been going, what is this I've learned? Like, what am I doing with it? Who am I in it? It's glorious. And then also, you know, I've always considered teaching, because of karate, to be fundamental to anything resembling mastery. And so then it becomes, well, fuck, if I'm teaching this, I better know it even better. And so it becomes like, what is it really for me? Not what was given to me, but what is my daily life with it? In terms of what's missing for me, I mean, you know, I went and just when I want to figure out what happens when your feet get kicked out from under you too. But that's not something that's missing from karate itself, because it's just a different thing. But I really like the idea of having time while giving back, because you are further along the path than a lot of other people, just going, I want to swim in this pool that I spent so long building, and now it's full of water, and go, what is it? Like, what does a backstroke look like here? What does a front stroke look like here? So that for me is what this period feels like.
How about that, Randy?
Can you just ask the question one more time, Sensei? I just want to think about it, like react to it.
In our style of karate, and I believe Shotokan, I stand to be corrected. Usually you're learning katas up to a fourth dan, and then the katas sort of cease there. You know, at least that's what happened to me when I was learning from my teacher. And then I ended up having to go to Long Island, New York, to ask Terry Macaron, who is a mentor and a person I really respected, that question. And he did say something to me, and I'll wait my turn. Nick?
So,
Or I'm sorry, you go.
yeah, I think, Sensei, for me, there's a distinction in my mind. Are you a student or are you a teacher? Like, I think if you're a teacher, it's important that you learn as much as you possibly can, even if it's not good for you, right? Like, it might not be good for you. So you reach a fourth dan, you have all this information. New people might come in, and when they come in, that's not enough information for them to make them good as an individual. Because if we're talking about if we're just talking about dans and progressing, and you need katas to progress, then I guess you need more after fourth dan. But if we're talking about, like, you know, what is the practical purpose of karate? Let's not even say karate. Let's say, what's the practical purpose of martial arts, I don't necessarily think you need to know like 37 katas or 67 katas or 72 katas. You need to know the things that will work for you really, really well on an unconscious level. If you're a teacher, you need a lot more. And I don't think if you're not a teacher, I don't think you need to progress past third Dan. Like I don't think you do. Like if you're not teaching martial arts, just keep toiling away for your own benefit. And that's awesome, right? Like there's no issue with that. But if you want to teach people, then you need to move beyond that. And so then you require more knowledge. You can't get to a 10th Dan if you don't have more knowledge than somebody who's a third Dan, like, or done it longer. So I guess that's what I think about that. And I'm probably wrong because I'm only 50 and I'm still learning. So yeah.
Eric, Sensei Suino, excuse me.
Oh, any name works fine for me. I absolutely agree with what Sean and Randy said. I'll just give you a little snippet from my own training or my own dojo. You know, I have just a tiny handful of people who have made it to Godan under my teaching. And one thing I absolutely love about those few guys at Yondan and Godan is our conversations are completely different now. We're talking about they're becoming serious people. And I don't mean serious in the sense that they never crack jokes, but I think that people to be reckoned with. You know, you can be a martial artist and be really damn good, but there's a big difference between that and being somebody who really matters in the community. So, you know, I've got three guys, Dana Jackson, Dan Holland, and Nick Miller. And they are just phenomenally different human beings. And the amount of personal growth that they've had from Sandan to Yondan or Godan is phenomenal and clearly evident when you interact with them. So there's a personal growth that happens. I'm just giving you my own slice on that. There's a personal growth that happens even if there's not more material being learned. So
Yes. Yeah.
How about you, Sensei? What do you think?
Are you
Hachi?
done? Yeah, okay. Well, so Terry Macaron said to me, what you're looking for, Gary, is the Okinawan crane. So in the story I understand is all martial arts, of course, came down through China. We're all the greatest influence on the hand arts, the empty hand arts are the greatest influences through the Chinese. So he said, you're looking for this guy who lives in, and he's down in Florida. His name is Anthony Sandoval. When I went down there, I learned a little bit of history from some of the people, and they said, well, Funakoshi learned his karate from Matsumura, which was Shorin-ryu. When he went to Japan, he never taught Shotokan. He taught Shorin-ryu. Shorin-ryu was the first empty-handed art. And it was by the Okinawans, not the Japanese. There's a slight difference there. And I was told a story that because Funakoshi was half Japanese and half Okinawan, there was some ill feelings between those two countries at the time. And Matsumura was also only knew a few katas himself. Like he invented the Pinan katas or the Heian katas. So he went on to go to China and learn the crane, a crane art. And when he brought it back, he adapted it to the harder style. He changed it from the soft, fluent to the hard moving more linear type of striking. And well, he was looking for someone to bounce it off of, like everyone has that student, like I have Randy. There was someone always trying to peek through the fence, and he wanted to learn that art. He was a very good student. For some reason, Matsumura didn't want to teach it to him, and that was Funakoshi. Funakoshi knew he was a good student. He was a great martial artist. This could have been the greatest mistake Matsumura ever made. So he packed his bags and went to Japan. And while he learned the Shorin-ryu system, he never learned the white crane. And in my dojo, I don't only teach up to that fourth dan, which is the hard striking style of karate, into a softer, more relaxed type of striking that centered around severing nerves, which is like the killing art of that time. So with that, from the fourth dan to the eighth dan, in my dojo, you learn the Okinawan white crane. So in Goju-ryu, for instance, the Goju means hard, soft style, right? We never really had that handed to us. And a lot of the techniques that you see in the Shorin-ryu style are not explained. And then finally, when I went and learned this, that's where I took my time off from the sword in order to be able to learn the white crane. I put it in there. And now we're learning the softer way of doing the art, as opposed to always hitting hard and knocking the person out. When you get to be my age, you can't go with the young guys. Like I watched my grandson fighting another student the other night. His name was Josh. They were moving so fast and so hard. In my mind, I went, geez, I wonder if I can even beat these guys. You should have seen them go. They were amazing. But, you know, at my age, imagine the white crane being like somebody trying to grab you and punch you and you shove your finger in their eye. Like, it doesn't take much effort for that. You just need to be a bit quick and to get it there. And then striking the nerves takes less power, just more accuracy. So you sort of need that. And that's where I put it after the fourth dan to the eighth dan, so that we would learn the soft side of the arts. And this would be awesome for the ladies because it doesn't require that power. It requires skill and speed. So that's my view on what should happen after a fourth dan. A lot of people in the United States now do that, but it hasn't really spread worldwide because Matsumura wanted to keep it a secret. And the last thing I will say about it, because I'm dragging on here, was my sensei was a student, Hohan Sokan. And upon his death, I believe it was in 78, maybe 72, I can't remember. But he called all his students to his bedside. And he said, release the white crane. We don't want it to be a secret style anymore because it will die with me. So all of his head senseis went out, including Anthony Sandoval, to the United States and started teaching. And in the southern United States, most of the people had learned the Okinawan crane from him. So whether that's believable or not is up to you. But if you want to know, come to my dojo. I'll show you. And I don't mean you need to pay me. I will show you what happens there. Okay?
Thanks.
Great question.
Andre, who's hosting tonight, because Robert's off in California. Robert's off in California tonight.
Nice.
Yeah, he's going to train with Fumio Demura, I think, this week. Yes, I just saw Suino's eyebrows go up. But Andre, if you want to play a couple of those video messages that have been sent in, that would be amazing, if you can.
I also, well, good.
Hanshi Legacy, bonjour, je vous souhaite un joyeux anniversaire, de nombreuses années sur les tatamis, et puis on va se voir bientôt à Kitchener. So, attention à vous, profitez de cette belle journée et à bientôt. Bon anniversaire!
Yes.
Amazing.
Merci, mon ami.
Andre, can you get the next one queued up? No pressure, as quick as possible.
Oh, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. I don't need that, but I really appreciate it. Like, those guys are true friends.
Yeah. It's good to have some bilingual culture here on our show too.
Love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see, does Mario have a question? Is that what that is?
Sorry, Sensei, who?
Mario, I see a hand up. Is that a question?
I don't see that hand because I don't have that view up, but
Nope,
Okay.
nope. Don't see it either.
nope.
Okay.
You got another one for us, Hanshi? You got another question, don't you?
I have a couple. We have lots of time yet, but the other thing, you wonder about friendships. And the question I wanted to pose was, should you call your sensei outside of the classroom? Like you see him walking down the street, can you call him Fred or Pete or Gare? For an example, Wayne Bear was the sixth dan. He was my boss and my friend before he even knew karate. I was kicking a dumpster one day. He walked around the corner and he was the only carpenter on the site. And I kicked him and hit his thumb and sprained his thumb. He calls me Hanshi or Sensei in the dojo, but when we're outside, we were already like friends. So he calls me Gare. When we go golfing, he calls me Gare, which I appreciate. You know why? Because not many people call me that. They always call me Hanshi. So the question is, what do you think? Should you always you come into class for the first time and you see your sensei, or another scenario like the one I just gave you? Is it proper or is it okay? Or do we think too much of ourselves? How about that, Nick? Or Sensei Suino, I'm sorry.
Well, see, there you go.
We're friends.
So here's my answer. 100% yes. You should always call your sensei inside out in the dojo. And then 1% no. Sometimes relationships are such that you don't have to do that. I have a few friends who don't call me sensei, who friendships that started in the dojo. I don't think it's because we think a lot of ourselves. I think it's because I think a lot of you, or right, or Randy thinks a lot of you. Like that, I don't mandate it, but I would always call if my old senseis were still living, I would call them sensei forever. Comes from me, not from them.
Yes. Yeah. Well said. Yeah. Randy?
I just wrote down, Sensei, I am a martial artist and I am a son. And I wrote that down because once you are one of those things, how do you say, did your mom or dad come to you and say, we have a close enough relationship now that you could just call me Mary Lou, or you can just call me Mike Dolphan? Like, it just really feels uncomfortable when I say that. Like, I never called my dad by his first name ever, and I never called my mom by her first name ever. And that's because of the relationship that we built. And so for me, I guess I want to say, if you're really a martial artist, no, you don't call your sensei by their first name, or you've lost your place in where you are. I've never called you by your first name. I've never called Sensei Suino by his first name, and I can't imagine doing so. The only caveat that I would give, like the small footnote that I would say, would be, when you use a person's name, what respect and what reverence do you give that name? right? And so sometimes I will say to my students, you know, I'll say, oh, I'm going down to see Suino, right, this weekend. But I say that name Suino with total reverence. It might as well be synonymous with sensei. Like, there's no difference between the two words, not in my mind and not in the way that I express them. So, yeah, I guess that's my answer. Sensei legacy. That's my answer.
Not surprisingly, Sensei, my answer will be along the same lines. Like, there are people who are senseis, like Sensei Bowron has said to me many times, call me Scott. Sometimes I do, most of the time I don't. Scott Watson, long before he was a black belt, I was a brown belt, he's like, call me Scott, Sean. And I think I did sometimes because he asked me to, and those weren't my senseis. But I'm not calling you your Sensei Dolphan or Sensei Suino by your, I want you as my teachers. I crave you as my teachers. You know, I sent you that note today. Like in 1993, I walked into that basement. I'm getting emotional right now. My life changed. Everything in my life got better and has since. And why would I need what you are. And I like that it has a title. And I see it with my students. I have a lot of students who come in through the acting world and we have relationships prior. And I tell them in class, you call me Sensei. Outside class, we have a formal relationship. You call me you want. They all end up calling me Sensei out of class. I never ask them to. They just do. And I see that they need it the way I need it with you three on this call. So that's where I go with it. I want it. I need it. And it changed my life. So why would I try and change it back?
Good answer, Benz. Since I know you've never called any of your teachers by their first name.
I just did just now. And I felt terrible. And that's why, Sensei Suino, I'll never call you that again. I never have, and I never will. I just did it sort of weird for this thing here.
You and I have a funny relationship that way, right? Because we've been friends and mutual students. Yeah. And yeah.
But you're still my sensei.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And
yeah, you know, Sensei, though, the thing is, like, I think of names that I say, right? Like I've often said Nobetsu. You need to go to Nobetsu's dojo. But to me, when I say you need to go to Nobetsu's dojo, it's the same as saying you need to go to Sensei's dojo. Like, because the name Nobetsu and the word Sensei have almost become the same thing, right? And I think a lot of people would say that of you. Like, if people said like legacy, they'd say like that name legacy and the word Sensei, or Suino and the word Sensei, have merged to become the same thing because you've gone over 30 years, right? I know if we can, Andre, I know if you want to let Hanchitarian in, if we can get him in here, that would be amazing.
would it?
Yeah.
I'm here.
You are here.
Hi, Hachi.
Hey, how are you doing, everyone? I'm in Whitby. I just finished teaching, and we try to hook on with everybody. And for some reason, I'm still a white belt in technology. I had some problem, and but I called for a special reason. I told everybody that there's a young man who has a birthday today, and I want to wish him happy birthday, my friend Hanchi.
Merci beaucoup.
Ah, ça me fait plaisir, mon ami. Hey, you're the leader of the pack now. We're going to keep following you for at least 20 to 30 more years, man.
I hope I won't let you down.
You never did, and you never will. And look who's with me, Greg.
Happy birthday,
Oh, great.
Hanchi. Yes,
Hey.
happy birthday.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Randy, how are you?
We bailed him out of jail so he could come and wish you happy birthday.
All right.
Enjoy your evening, my friend. We are so looking forward to May 14 and 15. We'll see you there, and we're going to have a chance to celebrate.
Merci beaucoup.
Bonne fête, Hanchi. Bye-bye.
Bonjour.
Thanks,
Bye-bye. everyone.
Hanchitarian.
Bye.
So, since legacy, before we move too much further, I just want to, I know you've already heard from this person today, But I just Sensei McLaren, Nick McLaren from the BC Dojo message today. Him and I were chatting, and he said, happy birthday, Hanshi, from all your students at your West Coast dojos. Looking forward to having you teach BC camp again this year in Whistler on the August long weekend. You continue to influence people across the country to be better versions of themselves, both inside and outside of the dojo. I just wanted to share that. And then there were some questions about Mario Musso, and Mario Musso sent a message. You're going to get the next question, Sensei Legacy, but he just sent a message and said, the most happy birthday, Hanshi Legacy. Hope you're having a great day. So
Thank you, Mario.
Keep them coming.
Okay, so we're getting to that. This should finish it up. What are the requirements for you to be called a martial artist? You know, let's say, for instance, a guy starts training and he trains till he's a black belt or a second Dan or something, and then he decides to become an MMA world champion, and he does, but he doesn't continue his karate. After he retires as the world champion and keeps teaching kickboxing and everything. So what requires you to be, what are the necessary things that you have to be called a martial artist? And, you know, everybody from the first day, what is the reason you put a white belt on? What is it that you are? You make that commitment. That means you are a martial artist. So while you move through the yellow belts and into your black belt, and you move along, and then you go off and become a kickboxer and teaching kickboxing, is he still a martial artist? So my question is, what is it that you have to do? What are the requirements through your entire life to be called a martial artist? What does that mean? How about we start with you, Sensei Suino? You're probably really the most knowledgeable of us all because of the time you spent in Japan and in martial arts.
I think you may be referring kind of to a martial artist with a capital M and martial artist with a small m, right? That there's such a thing as a martial artist with a small m, if you allow me to use that term, which is anybody that's involved in a martial art or combative art, and, you know, just broadly encompasses everything: kickboxing, boxing, wrestling. But then I think there's another concept, capital M martial artist, which is kind of like what we've described on this show many times as a classical martial artist, somebody pursuing a heritage system, making it their lifetime's path. And if you want to call yourself a capital M martial artist in that framework, then you need to be involved in the martial art that you're committed to, that this is what I do, this is who I am, I'm going to do it for my whole life, whatever form it takes. And as long as that continues, you can continue to call yourself a martial artist.
All right, Randy?
I think I agree 100% with Sensei Suino. What I wrote down was requirements are being committed to your martial art from the day you come in until the day you leave, whether that's death or you decide to walk out the door, right? Like, that's what's required to be a martial artist, right? One day you might say, I don't want to be this anymore, and you leave and you don't do it anymore, then you're not, right? But you need to be required to be committed to this. And you and I, Hanshi, talked about this morning. We talked about, here's an example of what I'm talking about from my example. Johnny Serio, he got a blue belt, and then he became the 172-time world champion knocked out every single person who ever stood in front of him. But he wasn't a black belt. He didn't get his black belt. And then when he was done, after he retired with however many championship belts or whatever, he went back and he committed himself to getting his black belt in jiu-jitsu. And he earned his black belt in jiu-jitsu after he was a multi-time world champion. That's a person to me who's committed to martial arts, not just being a fighter, right? And I think you can just be a fighter. And I think that's awesome. Like, I don't criticize anybody who is a fighter. Like, I don't mean to say just a fighter. Like, it's tough. You got to train. You got to be brave. You got to step in the ring and be willing for somebody to knock your head off, like, or possibly kill you. I just kind of feel like being a martial artist is all of those things and a little bit more. Right? I think it's all of that stuff I just said and just a little bit more. So that's my take on it.
I think I go slightly in the other direction with what it is to be like the small M. Like, I think I see these guys on TikTok and they are dead. They're dreadful, some of them, but they're posting a video and they're doing these weird spinning things that don't work, but they're martial artists. They're just not good ones. And I think that you could literally just today go, I'm a martial artist, and like get your floppy sword out and play and not do anything. But if you believe it and you're acting on your belief of what you're doing, we have the right to laugh at you, but you have the right to call yourself a martial artist. Now what then becomes, I hope happens for everybody, is it gets pressure tested. And then the other word that pops into my head is system. And the only reason I use that word is because I think of somebody, especially old school, who comes up with something that works for them, but until they're asked to pass it on and have to describe how they're doing what they're doing, arguably there's no system. It's just an individual who's good at doing something. And for me, for martial art to actually be able to be named something, it would have to be transmissible. And the transmissibility fundamentally makes it into something systemic. So that, again, doesn't make it a good one. But one person in a field might not qualify, but one person who can show another person what they're doing, good or bad, now it starts to take shape for me. That's where I go with it.
Amazing. Andre, if you can, Madam Christine Hussey, if you could put her camera on for a second. She wants to say hi to everybody and wish Sensei Legacy a happy birthday, if that is a possibility. Oh,
Bonjour, how are you?
Pardon?
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great.
I wanted to wish you the very best. Happy birthday. I hope you've had a wonderful day, and I wish you many, many more years to come.
Thank you. I'll give you a nice big hug and a kiss when I see you soon.
I will see you on Saturday.
That's right.
So I will be expecting it, please.
Thank you so much.
Happy birthday, Sensei.
Awesome.
okay. Sorry, Sean, go ahead.
Oh, that's okay, Hanshi. If you don't mind, I'd like to hear your answer to that question. I don't think we heard your thoughts.
Well, I'm having a hard time. What I'm going to say here is, at one time in my life, the title of a book called I Am Karate about Hitoshi Yatsune crossed my mind. What am I? What the hell am I? I'm just scared. Like, see, the thing is, between you and I is, I know all my faults. I know all the mistakes I make, you know. So I asked myself that question many times. And then one time when I asked myself that question, and I'm being very humble when I say this, I said, man, all the masters are gone. Sensei Benny Allen's gone. all my teachers are gone. I think I've become karate. So I think it's somebody who becomes the platform that holds up martial arts. You're not just somebody learning it anymore. You're sort of part of its structure. And that's just something that I believe happens to you. You know, you've got guys like Conway Copeland, guys like him, and many other guys, you know. And I think that guy is karate to me. I've seen him fight in the early days. I've seen him as a dedicated student. I see him as holding up his style. And he becomes the blood flow and the things that make karate still here. Then you have other people who don't learn the art for all its value. And they start to go off in a different direction. And then what happens is that pure art gets changed into something else. Whilst the right people that are 9th and 10th dans, they have the right to change and to modernize and to update that same art. But the roots and everything are still important. It's like the leaves changing on a tree, you know, but the roots still hold that tree there. So you have to become the art. You are karate or EI or whatever, judo, jiu-jitsu, whatever it is. You have to become that in order for it to be preserved for the other people. So I think it's a little bit more than we think. And possibly, with the exception of Sensei Suino, is that, Randy, you're very close to getting there. You've probably already asked yourself the question, am I karate? Or you've already found out that you are, probably from me treating you like you've become karate. And Sean is on his way. But I think there's more to it. You've got guys like Yamaguchi Sensei. When I saw him, I was amazed. He was a spitting image of my father. So I looked at that guy. He's a Mijin master. He's a sword saint. So he died, and I wouldn't be surprised they buried him with his sword. I'm not sure what happened, but he became EI, right? So I think there's more of a demand than just being in martial arts. That's basically my answer.
Listen, Benz, it's 9:58. I don't think we're going to build on anything. That was like the most amazing 3 minutes of punch, kick, choke chat that we've had so far. Was that I think we should go around the horn, and I'll leave it to you. I honestly don't know who should go first. So you've always hosted this. We'll trust your judgment.
Let's trust my judgment this time, and let's reverse the direction, because it's Hanchi's birthday and he's guided our questions tonight. And I think that we sort of ascend rank-wise towards him. I think that feels a bit right. I don't want to go first, but I do just want to say what I said earlier. I want to reiterate, you've changed my life. You know, I present very much as an actor because that is my online persona bit, and that's part of it. But that came after karate. I met you as a science student who thought he might become a doctor or a lawyer. I met you as somebody who did not know how to look another man in the eye and say, back up or step forward, but don't fuck with me. I used wit and disappearing as a way to get out of situations, and directness was not an option, because between both fear and inability to execute, I didn't know what the fuck to do. I avoided anything resembling conflict like the plague. And I don't believe a person can be a pacifist if they don't choose peace. I was defaulting to it because it wasn't an option. And you gave me the option. You gave me the option of peace because I could go the other way if I wanted. But more importantly, what Sensei Dolphan just said, the 3 minutes and all the minutes of 29 years of talking, of training, being your friend, your student, sleeping on your couch when I was going through one of the toughest times of my life. that's more than any option for peace. It's more than the physical. It's about the life we get together. Sensei Dolphin always says this show is just one more thing that's fun that we get to say we did, regardless of what comes of it. And when I think of you in LA and us in Vancouver and me down there and just life, seeing you right now, it's a gift. It's a gift to me that you were born. I'm speaking about it selfishly because of what it did for me, but that's the only perspective I can offer. And I'm just so grateful. And I'm so grateful for the other two of you on this call too, like this chat and these chats. Life doesn't get much better than this. I just want to say thanks.
Who next, Ben?
Sensei Dolphin. Let's go with you.
Yeah. So the thing that stands out is one of the last things you said since Legacy, which is you're part of its structure, right? And that's what I aspire to be now. It was fun at one point to be a competitor. Use your ego to bounce and push you forward. But I've said it to you since Legacy. I don't know if I've ever said it to you since the Suino, but really in the end, all I hope is that if I could be a picture on somebody's wall, that would be good, right? Because I will know I was part of the structure and I helped to push it forward. I hope that somebody would say, oh, the Grady Ido people like Yamaguchi Sensei, Suino Sensei, Holland Sensei, Miller Sensei. If somebody even mentioned my name with those names, I'd be so happy. If somebody said, the great karate teachers, Matsumura Itosu, Wally Slokey, Benny Allen, Gary Legacy, Bill Hine, Randy Dolphin. If my name could even just be put in the name, those other names, I will know that I have been part of the structure of those arts and I've helped to move it forward. That's my final thoughts.
Sensei Suino. Thanks, Sensei Dolphin.
Hachi, you mentioned Yamaguchi Sensei. I could basically say exactly what Sean said about you. For me, that was Yamaguchi Sensei. Changed my life. I've never met anybody like that. As you saw when you saw him. The most incredible human being I've ever met, much less had the opportunity to spend, thousands of hours with. Absolutely transformed my existence, made me realize what's possible in life. And so I'm going to bring it back to the word legacy. What a legacy to leave, right? If somebody can say about you, they showed me what's possible in a way that nobody else had before. That's the cool thing about being a part of martial arts, about the living embodiment of martial arts, is you have a chance to affect people's lives in this incredible way. Thanks for having the last name Legacy, and happy birthday.
Again, I have to thank my parents for that.
What do you want to take us home on?
I'm not going to take it much further because the time is up. All I will say to you is go out and make your art better. Up to you. That's
amazing. Thanks, Hanshi. I hate we have to do this because I'd love to just click leave meeting there, but Sensei Dolphin, tell us what's coming up.
The only one I know right now is Sensei Fernet has agreed to come and meet with us. That's the one that I know. I know Sensei Suino knows about Professor Chet. I don't know much about Professor Chet, so I'm going to just let Sensei Suino talk about what next week would be.
Amazing.
Next week, Professor Chet Shimahorn, a direct student in the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu tradition, trained with him twice. One of my great martial arts friends, Kent Nelson, has trained with him many, many, many times. I've never heard anybody say anything other than, oh my God, this guy's amazing. And he is, both in terms of technique and as a human being. Humble, approachable, incredibly good at jiu-jitsu. I don't know him that well. So I'm really looking forward to learning more about him as a human being next Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, right here on Punch, Kick, Choke, and Chat.
That's amazing. That's a great thing. The last thing to go out on is just to say thank you so much to our people behind the scenes. Tonight we had Andrei Sedashev running our systems, and look how beautifully he did. I mean, even just throwing up those videos, like you killed it tonight, Andrei. Sensei would say within a minute and a half, and before he was finished the sentence, he had it up. So thank you so much for your work tonight. Robert Schlumsky, Mike Russell, Victoria Feth, Justin Shea, and Alden Adair also helping out with all our posting. We appreciate you so much, and we're so grateful you're part of our team. Thanks, everybody. What a great night. I'm gonna go vibrate for a while on this one.
Happy
So
birthday.
much fun. Happy birthday, Sensei. Love you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.